Majority of people would be like, why is he talking about kicking babies? But it's like, if you listen to me enough and I say it in the right context and I tell you the right things and I just have the right tone with you, oh yeah, I think kicking babies is right because so and so you start to go, oh, maybe kicking babies is right. That's all politics is brainwashing people. But yeah, and if any politician is ever so far left that you know, they're not willing to listen to somebody that's so far right, they shouldn't be a politician, because essentially it should be about meeting in the middle and finding a balance. If you want a good politician, it shouldn't be somebody that's so much of a Republican that he can never take the standards of a Democrat. And it should never be such a Democrat that I can never be a Republican. It should be like, no, man, I don't believe in either of those. Like, those are both socially constructed words. I'm just trying to be my best self.
Yeah.
But yeah, man.
Speaking on Obama, there's a theory that Michelle wasn't a girl.
Oh, yeah.
That Michelle's trans. And it don't seem unreasonable, I won't lie.
You know, I'm not gonna judge anybody or say anything like that. You know, I think everybody's entitled to their own lifestyle and their own thing, and that's their thing. Especially with Michelle.
Michael.
All right, at this point we're just making jokes. I do want to clarify that we're not trying to be mean to anybody. But
you think so?
See, no. The thing about it is, okay, this is me just making a joke. I'm not trying to offend anybody or be mean. But Michelle Obama has a big ass back. She has a very... She's built, man. She's a strong woman. Like, no offense to any strong women out there. Like, if you're a strong woman, I respect you because you're a strong woman. But, like, that is one strong... Like, I know that because I heard what you're talking about before. But I know that back in, like, 2016, I saw a photo of Michelle Obama's back, and it was like an Instagram post, and it said, man, I want to know what workout plan she's on. I thought the exact same thing. I was like, damn, man, that woman has a back.
And there's this old lady that got like interviewed on the street. She was like a politician, I forgot her name, and she got questioned about Michelle, and she said something like Obama was our first gay president, and Michelle is a man, and she died like a week later.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully that don't happen to us.
She was really old though.
Yeah.
So it could be that, either she got killed or that happened. Either one, but
yeah, man. But
that would be crazy if that came out. That would be insane. Imagine like you just look on your phone and you see Michelle Obama is trans.
I wouldn't judge her.
No?
No.
I wouldn't, but like...
You wanna talk about that, man?
You can.
I mean, I think it's a very controversial thing, but I think we're already on controversial topics, so we might as well. You know, this podcast is about being able to speak your mind and say what you want. You know, I don't want anybody to come on here to be scared to speak what they want to speak, as long as they speak it in a respectful way and they're willing to learn and listen. Like, if I have a different opinion, you can take something out of my opinion and not just ignore me. But I think on the whole trans movement, that everybody has the wrong idea or wrong concept of what the bigger picture is. Whenever you hear somebody talk about the trans movement, it's always they're indoctrinating our kids. They're trying to get our kids to be trans, and the trans people are like, no, we're not. We're just trying to get our kids to support something, to support differences, right? But I think that essentially, I think that as a parent, it should be up to you to tell your kid that everybody's equal and everybody should be fair. Mm-hmm. But because we live in a society, parents aren't able to do this because they have to go to work, they have day-to-day responsibilities. They have to live life, right? Like, your parent wasn't always around, and you understood that because they had to go outside and work. Mm-hmm. And I think that the bigger question should be, like in the state of California, where they're allowing children to start taking hormone blockers and testosterone boosters and all these different things, and they're allowing trans children to go ahead and get, gender changes. And in California, there is I'm pretty sure it was in California. I know my coworker told me it was in Canada right now, but it's basically like where if your parents don't respect your pronouns, they'll take you away.
They'll take you, yeah.
And
I heard about that.
And I think that the bigger question should be, why do we have our children questioning our sexuality? Mark, you and me, we went to kindergarten together, right? We've been friends since elementary school.
Yeah.
at any point before puberty, did you question your sexuality?
Nah,
It wasn't even in your mindset,
I
right?
didn't think about
Why?
that.
Because you're a child. So the bigger question is, why are we asking children what their sexualities are if they're a child?
And they don't know what they're talking about either.
They don't know what they're talking about. I say we just let our children live naturally and happily, and by the age of 12 or 13, puberty's gonna kick in, and they're gonna start looking at people a little differently, and they're gonna have questions. I think this is when it's important for a parent to address, sexuality and all these questions, but only until this age. Because what I realize is that porn is an epidemic. It really is. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Children should not watch porn ever in their life. And it's such a sad thing that kids like my age, I'm gonna admit openly and out loud, I have seen porn in my life. I have. And I am sad that I have seen it before, because I know how bad it was mentally deteriorating on me. And I know how much it changed my perspective on life, and it made me look at people differently, especially women, up until the point that I was able to break free from this. Because I like to think that, or I like to try to break free from my unnatural or ungodly habits. And I think that it's the fact that this is what happens when a child watches porn at a young age. A child may have desires to kiss a girl because that's what he's always seen his parents do, and he believes that's a form of expressing love. But the second a child sees somebody doing the deed, that they get that image in their head, and they begin to imagine that with other people. And essentially what this means is that a child, whenever they look at somebody, whenever they look at a woman, instead of looking at that woman as just a woman, they look at them as a woman, and as a woman that they could sexually reproduce at, and they begin to have these intrusive thoughts because they can now imagine these things, right?
Yeah.
And I think that this is what deteriorates the mind of our children. It learns to objectify women, and here's the thing: if you live your whole life watching porn, then you're gonna want to have a lot of sex, right? You're just gonna become I don't want to say crazy sex fiend, but you're just always gonna want to have sex because it's just something that you've always seen, right? It's something that you've learned to just watch, right?
Yeah.
And so I think what happens from here is I think what happens from here is it begins to become an action of, are you gonna have sex and are you not gonna have sex? And I think that once you start having sex, it becomes of an action of, are you gonna have sex with one person or are you gonna have sex with multiple people? And from personal experience, because I'm gonna be honest, I'm not a virgin. I'm not a saint. I really am not. I've done horrible things in my past. I've been a bad person to plenty of people, and I wish I could apologize. If reach out to me and I will apologize. I really am terribly sorry. But because of me watching porn at a young age, that once I had sex for the first time, I started going crazy, man. Like I kid you not, it was last year, from the summer of leaving high school to going into my junior year of high school, I had slept with 6 different women in the span of 3 months. 6 different women, and everybody's like, God damn, man, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. I am ashamed of myself. I am. You know why? Because it taught me that what it does, it essentially teaches you to objectify women and view and value them less. It teaches you that anybody is replaceable and that everybody is replaceable. That I can just come out here and I can get this really intimate moment with this lady and then go out there and get it with somebody else. And that moment was now meaningless. But and I think that this is why first of all, sex is a beautiful thing when it's with one person, because it's something of respect and love and mutual passion and connection. So I think that's why it should be something that you're free to express with one person. But when it becomes something of multiple people and adultery, this is whenever it becomes bad on the mind, because you begin to value human life less. You begin to look at women as less of a woman because you can get the same out of a different woman. It's the fact that that if you're in a relationship, but you're always thinking, or you're always checking out other women, because you always think that, I can go get that if I wanted to, that eventually one day in your life you're gonna go get that. Because that's what you've always wanted. That's what you've always summoned upon yourself. It's what you always attracted to yourself.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're in a happy relationship, you should never want to check out another woman, because at the end of the day, you should look at what happens if that woman checks you out back. What happens if y'all just keep playing with each other's emotions? What happens if y'all do, go all the way together? Then you just ruined your relationship. And at the end of the day, you look at the bigger picture and you ask yourself, was it really worth it? For this one moment in time, did I just, for this one, for these 5 minutes, 5 minutes, for these 5 minutes did I ruin my relationship with my 6-month girlfriend? Well, actually, I'm going on 10 months now. My 10-month-long girlfriend. Was it really worth it?
I don't think so.
Do you think it'd be worth it?
No, 5 minutes.
Exactly, man. And this is why I think that, the bigger question shouldn't be, should our children be allowed to question their sexuality? It should be, why are our children questioning their sexuality? What in this time makes a child, before the age of puberty, question its sexuality?
It's probably other people.
It's the fact, I think it's the fact that we're exposed to porn at a young age.
I think it's like...
At what age were you exposed, Marc?
Like 13.
13? And,
I literally waited.
Did you have, exactly. Could you imagine what sex was like before you watched porn? No, right? But once you watched it, you had that imaginative ability to just think of that in your head, right? And I think this is where it starts to deteriorate the mind, because you can think about that. It's the fact
it literally does deteriorate your mind.
It does deteriorate your mind. It's very unhealthy.
It makes you less reactive.
See, I haven't done the studies on it, but I just know for a fact that when I've been in that mindset, it is very unhealthy for my mind.
It makes regular stuff just
mid.
Nothing to you.
Yeah.
You want to get into more weirder stuff. That's what it does. Me personally, that's not what I did, but that's what it does to your brain.
Yeah. And I think it's the fact that a lot of people, whether they're willing to admit it or not, a lot of people do these actions. And I think that's why a lot of people in our society are mentally unhealthy, because they've never been told what their morals should be based off of. Why do you think as someone that has experience going through high school and has experience living in our generation, you've seen the mental illness? Because I know I have. I know anywhere I look in high school, I can ask somebody, have you ever dealt with depression? And a majority of high schoolers would be like, yes. Or a majority of them would be like, yes, I've dealt with self-harm. Yes, I've gone to the mental hospital. Yes, I've tried to take my life. But why do you think this is?
I feel because it's we're exposed to a lot more when we're younger. When we were in elementary school, I didn't think about none of that.
You were a child, man.
And then as middle school kept going on, and then high school, I started to see it more and more.
And it became a normality.
Now it's people are crazy. It's gonna be even crazier.
Yeah, man. I like to think that the reason our generation is so unhappy is because our morals have always been in the wrong place. Nobody has ever taught us what our morals should be. Your dad's tried his hardest to teach you the right and wrong, but at the end of the day, does your dad truly know what right and wrong is?
I don't think so.
You don't think so, right? He knows what society around him has constructed as to be right and wrong, but he doesn't know what right and wrong truly is.
I feel like he knows more than me.
He knows more than you. He definitely does. Everybody knows more than you. Sorry. I don't mean that. Sorry, Marc. Yeah, that got rude right there. I like to think of life that way, as whenever I talk to anybody, everybody knows more than me, so I should always be willing to listen to everybody because they can tell me something that I don't know. But yeah, he knows more than you, but at the end of the day, he knows what society has constructed to be good and bad. I like to base my morals off of not only my morals, but off of the morals of history. If you look at history and if you can look at an action and tell me that action had no negative reaction, then I will call that action a positive action. Yeah. If you look at history and you tell me that because this happened, this negative action happened, then I view that action as a negative action. And I think that this is where we base our morals. The fact that we have already lived and experienced so much that we can live and experience we can base our morals off of these experiences. It's the fact that essentially not all religion has the right moral set point, but they all have a good moral set point. You just have to build off of any religion. That's why I think that it's important to not be a religious creature, but a spiritual creature. You know, pick and choose from everything. Be willing to listen, open your mind up to everything. Because at the end of the day, we don't know what right and wrong is until you're sitting there talking to God and God is telling you, my son, this is right and this is wrong. We won't ever know.
Yeah. The thing with like religion though is if you stick to one and you like believe that your whole life, like if you're a Christian,
it's hard to break free from that.
Well, yeah, it could be, but like if you're like if you like switch and now like you're a Muslim, but you just like switch because of like to learn from it, you might still believe in God, you might still believe in Jesus, but Muslims have a completely different belief system. So you're not really a Muslim, and then you're not really a Christian either. Then that's what most people think in like religion is like their religion is right. That's how it is.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's indoctrination. That's what it is. It's the fact that if I tell you, if you want to believe my religion, you have to follow my book, and you can only believe it by my book. That's what it is. Right? That's the definition of indoctrination. It's whenever they try to indoctrinate you. Basically means that they're trying to put you under one oath. They're trying to put you under one lie. They can say that this is right and this is wrong, and this is subjectively right and this is subjectively wrong. That's what indoctrination is.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what religion does.
They say like these are God's words and like
only God's word.
Follow them no matter what.
And here's the thing. I think that when a religion tells you that these are God's words and follow them, I think that you should take whatever knowledge you can out of there. But because everything has good and bad. You should take whatever knowledge you can out of there, but take whatever you can't out. Or whatever is bad out. Like a good example that I like to use for this is Abraham and the king of Egypt. It's a story in the Bible about how the king of Egypt desired Abraham's wife, right? And Abraham's wife, who was his half sister at the time, because morals were kind of weird back then, but it was culturally accepted. But essentially, his wife, Abraham got a premonition from God, and God told him, "Hey, if you let the king of Egypt have your wife, I will send a plague to Egypt, and I will make sure that basically, I will send him karma. You have to do nothing, but you just have to let him have your wife, right?" Well, what I took out of that, and that's what happens. The king of Egypt goes over to Abraham's house. Abraham tells his wife to tell the king of Egypt that he's his sister, and they have their way. They procreate, and then Abraham moves on with his life, and the king of Egypt gets some big plague on Egypt, right? Well, what I took out of this is that cowardness is sometimes the right action, right? Sometimes it's better to not react than to react, right? If you are willing to send no energy or only positive energy into the universe, then you never have to worry about sending negative energy at anybody, because essentially that's God's plan. If God wants to send negative energy at them, he will. You don't ever have to worry about that. Just give it up to God. But what I also took out of this was that the Bible is a man-written book. It has only been written by man. It has only ever taken the feelings of a man into account. Why do I say this? Because if you ask any woman about that story, or I like to think that if you ask any woman about that story, and you ask them what about Abraham's actions, they would think that they were wrong actions, because they believe that a man's purpose is to protect them. Like if you're my woman, I'm supposed to be proud of you being my woman, and I'm supposed to be willing to protect you. And I think that it's important to look at the book and to take the wisdom out of it, but at the same time be like, is that really the truth? Because at the end of the day, Abraham, do you think that was the right action?
Sending like in exchange for his wife, he gets the whole plague.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
There's no reason to do that.
What would you have done, Mark?
Or cut my wife.
Yeah. I mean, you would have protected her to the very last of your breath, right? Mm-hmm. Either that. You want to know what I would have done? I would have prayed to God and told God, please, please protect me and my family, and please don't let this man touch my wife. Otherwise, God may forbid what I may do to this man, because that is my wife, and I'm going to protect my wife, right? And I'm going to pray to God to try to keep this man away from me. But at the same time, I'm also going to take it upon myself to try to remove myself from this man's presence. If I'm so far away that the king of Egypt can't get to my wife, then he's not going to end up with my wife. And I'm going to be somewhere on the other side of the world, across the ocean, living my happy best life with my wife, because I just decided to leave it like that and walk away. Because I knew that he had negative actions, and I knew that he had negative intentions with me, but I was the bigger person and walked away. I think that this is what the right action, this is what I believe that the rightful action of Abraham would have been. But at the same time, I do see the courage and the courteous ways of Abraham. Yeah, man.
So a religion is just like, when you talk about going to, like, exploring different ones, it's a little, for me it's like iffy, because I believe in God. Like, even if I'm not, like, even if I haven't been super religious my whole life and it was never like enforced on me, I still believe in God. So even if I were to go like practice Islam, if I were to do that, I would still believe that God is real, and I wouldn't believe in like the Quran or whatever. But
you would believe in the same God. Just because you transferred religions doesn't mean that your God changed. It essentially means that, and this is why I say that God is truly up to your perspective. He's up to what you consider to be morally okay within your morals. And not only that, but I think there is a good basic guideline using ethics and logic to prove our morals. I think that we could set a good guideline for actions like, I know I shouldn't kill anybody for no reason. I know that is a flat out sin, right? I know I shouldn't go out there and commit adultery. Why do I know this? Because I know it's going to ruin my relationship, and it's going to deteriorate my mental health, and it's going to make my life unhappy. I know that, I know for a positive fact that if I went out there and I committed adultery, that I wouldn't be a happy person right now, because it would wear on my morals. And I think essentially this is what I mean by being more of a spiritual creature. I think that the first religion that most people should start with, if you're confused, if you've always heard religion and it's driven you away, or you've always heard something about religion and it scared you, I think that one of the first great books you should read is the Dalai Lama by Buddha. The Buddhist belief of life is a beautiful life, because they believe that you can live a perfect and ideal life by just being a positive person. And I think from here you should look at every religion the way Buddha would look at every religion. See the good and bad of every religion. And just try to take the good and try to live your way the way Buddha would. Because you know what? I think that Jesus Christ and Buddha would have lived their life the same way. I think that essentially that they had the same mindset when it came up to life. Yeah. But it does get iffy whenever you start getting into the spirits and all that. Mm-hmm. Like most people, whenever you hear Hinduism, what do you think?
Hinduism?
Yeah.
I don't know much about it, honestly.
You know where it's from? India.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hinduism tends to believe in multiple gods, but what I recently found out is that they don't believe in multiple gods. They believe that these multiple gods create one God. So essentially, all these gods are different elements of one God. So I think that it's still a monarchy where they worship one God, or I think that's what it's called. But I view Hinduism as all these different gods not being God, as being God's simple angels. That throughout every single book, every single Bible, it talks about God having some form of helper, and that's all these different gods are. They're just God's helpers.
Yeah. There was ants on that.
Yeah, man. It's nature, man. Did you like it? Try it.
I'm chewing gum right now.
Oh, you're good. You probably didn't like it. Yeah, it's cortisol and ashwagandha mixed with a little bit of lemon and honey. Cortisol is supposed to help with your muscle tendons and your bones. It's supposed to help with any joint, basically just strengthen your joints and make your muscles more stronger, give you better muscle fibers for them. Mark, what would your perfect life be?
My perfect life?
Yeah.
I don't even know what my perfect life would be. Probably like, I'll live somewhere like this. be chilling. Probably be like self-resourceful. Is that the term?
Yeah. What I would love to do one day, man, or what my perfect life would be, to essentially one day be able to be somebody like a president. I don't want to say be president because I hate the idea of being up there and being, 'cause I don't think the president has any control of the country. He doesn't.
I think Joe Biden has control.
No, he. Yeah, we don't have to talk about that here. Y'all can go watch plenty of videos on that by yourself. You can turn on the news, man. We don't have to talk about that here, but that really is funny, man. But I essentially want to create a perfect world. It sounds childish. That's my childish dream. I'm gonna be honest. My childish dream is I want a perfect world on this world, and I think that perfect world isn't perfection. It's giving everybody the opportunity to be happy. It's like you said. You would want to have land like this and be able to sustain yourself, right? And I would want to feed into that. I would want to give you the opportunity to do that. I would want to let you grow and cultivate your land. And at the same time, I would also want to help people, or want to allow people to live in city and urban areas. I would want to kind of restore balance, because I think right now we're killing too much nature and we're moving too much towards a civilization this is why we're imposing our inevitable doom, because everybody is living an unnatural life, but I don't think everybody wants to live an unnatural life.
Like people didn't live like this like 100 years ago.
Yeah, people love nature.
Everything's new.
Yeah, and the crazy part is that it's in people's nature to love nature. You notice the fact that we came out here, we're by the water, by the trees, and we're just having a great time enjoying ourselves. Why?
It's just better out here.
Because we feel free. It's the fact that in a society you feel boxed, you feel stuck, you feel like you're in a can, it's trapped, right?
Like, everything's artificial.
Everything's artificial, but whenever you go out into nature, you're just given so much freedom. I was reading a quote by the Stoics, and I go to nature to lose my mind and to find my soul. What do you think about that, man?
I think like nature's like the purest place you could be, like where you can really just like fully express yourself. Like there's nothing unnatural. Like everything in nature is meant to be there,
and everything feels natural to us. I think if we want to go on my whole little religious view, I like to think that we are God's imperfect creature, right? And I like to think of us as being imperfect because we're so disconnected from nature, because we're animals. That's all we are. If you believe in evolution, you believe that we came from animals. I believe in evolution. I think that we came from animals, right? But I think that whenever God gave us the beautiful ability to learn and gave us like such cognitive abilities that we lost our intuition as animals. And I think that we are God's imperfect creation because we're creatures of comfort. That's what we are. We naturally seek comfort. If you're hot on a hot day outside, Mark, what are you gonna do?
You go inside.
You're gonna go outside in the cold AC, right? You're not gonna think about any of the actions or any of that because you're just seeking comfort, right? But and this is why I think we're God's imperfect creations, because humans are always gonna seek comfort, and we're always gonna seek comfort and understanding what we can't understand. That's what religion is. It's just trying to explain what God is because we can't understand what God is.
Living like just for comfort, I feel like that's where we're headed. Like
That's
some Ready Player One type stuff.
Yeah, but what is the bad thing with this? Whenever your body lives in comfort, your body naturally learns how to create problems within itself, right? It's the fact that we're never truly going to be comfortable if we're comfortable. People have to go through sufferment to grow.
It's like Wall-E.
Yeah. It's like working out, man. If I don't sit here and I don't work out my muscles and I don't get to the point like my arm is burning and it feels like it's about to fall off, then my muscles not getting any bigger. Why? Because my body's already used to that motion. I can sit here and I can do this for hours, all day, and my muscles aren't gonna get any bigger. But if I sit here and I tense it up and I go slowly, then my muscles at least doing something, right? Yeah. And I like to think about it this way. I like to think that we've reached a time in time where humans essentially have reached perfection. that nature, we haven't reached perfection. We have made it far enough, and we have become comfortable enough that we don't have to make any more technological advances. Think about it. Like, the fact that I'm recording this on an iPad, man, I can literally be God on that iPad. I can download an app right now that is just a blank space and create a world on the app, and within the app make my own reality. That is what it means to be God. And I think that we've reached a point in life that we've become so technologically advanced that we don't need to do any more we don't need to strive for any more technological advances. And I think that, you know, that good times are coming and that the world is going to come back to a balance. I hope that I can do my hardest to bring that upon us, and, you know, by at least invoking thoughts onto others. But I think that we're reaching a time where people have gotten so used to living in such an unnatural way that their mental health is suffering because of it.
Yeah, I think it started with the internet.
It started with the internet.
That's how we started getting exposed to, like, much more stuff at a younger age, and that's how people are getting lonelier too. Like, I've seen a lot about that, and like I'd be like on Discord, I would play games a lot, and people on there like lonely, like super lonely.
Because they only hang out with other people online, right?
And like they have no real like human connection.
This is where I say we can reach a balance. If you know how to properly manage, or if you're willing to sit here and properly manage your technology time and your time with nature, you're gonna be naturally happy. This is what I'm trying to do. If anybody knows me, I have a flip phone. I use an iPad. I listen to music on my iPad. I try to, you know, not be on my iPad as much as possible, and I try to only use my technology when I'm trying to learn something, when I'm trying to read a book on my iPad, when I'm trying to listen to music, or when I'm trying to do homework. But if I'm not using my iPad, or if I don't need technology, I'm literally out here doing stuff like this. This is what I enjoy doing. I just, like right now, Mark, I will take off my shoes and I will jump in this water and swim across this lake. Why? Because I love nature and I would love to swim in this water. And I think, I low-key feel like doing it now. I'm not, my intrusive thoughts are telling me to just jump in that thing, man. I might. Y'all watch out, I might. But I think that because we live in such an unnatural civilization, that people are finding unnatural ways to make themselves unhappy. So they're finding their own ways. And sometimes it's not even unnatural. It's the fact that a lot of people also feel like they have no control of their life because they have no control of bigger things like corporations, governments, or all these things. It's the fact that to live today, you have to break your morals. Sorry, Mark. Good? Sorry, man. Yeah. But to live in today's society, you have to break your morals, man. Mm-hmm. Like, think about it.
Succeed.
Yeah. And not only that, to just live, Mark. Mm-hmm. Like Mark has some nice ass white Nike Air Forces, right? Mm-hmm. I don't want to hate on your drip because I love those shoes. They look amazing, man. But just think about where your shoes might have come from. Came from China. And what in China did it come from?
Who made it specifically?
Yeah. Probably a child in a sweatshop, right?
Probably did.
Yeah, probably some.
That's why I hate Temu.
Yeah.
Because everything's like 50 cents on there, like you already know.
It's child made. It's the fact that we seek comfort, that we have issues like this. And this is what I want to get rid of. This is what my dream is. To give a perfect society where you don't have to go out to the store and buy shoes without breaking your moral sense of, oh my goodness, where the fuck did these shoes come from? Because if you think about it hard enough, you're going to become depressed at the thought of so many children out there, you know, just like growing up every single day. Could you imagine being 10 years old and never having a childhood? Like, imagine you and me as children, right? Imagine if our friendship, instead of being built inside an elementary school, was built inside a sweatshop, and our conversations were mainly us building toys and dreaming about being able to play with those toys. Isn't that shit depressing?
Depressing.
It's depressing, right? And this is why I found God. This is why I've started creating and building my relationship better with God, because it's helped me take the anxiety and the pain off of the fact that I essentially can't change that right now. because I may not be able to do a change today, but I can do my best to set myself up for a future to make a change. And this is why whenever I get a little voice in my head, or my conscience tells me that I should do something right, I just do it. Like, you know, before you picked me up, I met a kid named Julian, which, by the way, I'm gonna have him on here. I would love to have you on here, Julian. There was a kid in the parking lot, right, just hanging out, chilling. His name was Julian, right? He was skating, and I just got a cool vibe from him. I'm like, man, this kid seems cool. And I was gonna get in my car and wait for you, but my car was hot, and I felt like sitting under a tree. So I was walking over there, and I was like, man, I might as well go ahead and ask him if he wants to be on today's podcast. And I asked him, and he said that he was busy today, that he has stuff going on, which is understandable. Everybody has something going on at all times. But I got to talking to him, and he seemed like a cool ass dude, and I'm honestly gonna have him on here now. Like, we honestly had a conversation like this for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And it felt really nice just for those 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's why I tell you, like, don't essentially follow a quote unquote God. Follow your morals, man. Follow your moral compass, and I promise you, you will find God. Like it's that simple. And Marc, who do you picture whenever you imagine God?
When I imagine God,
Yeah.
the picture like immediately is just Jesus.
It's Jesus?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good ass photo. Yeah. I think that's a really good photo, actually.
Mm-hmm. Maybe like the sun.
The sun. What I like to tell people that they should imagine God as is them in their 70s living their perfect life. Like, you just being only a positive person and only ever feeling positivity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I get into, like, my God would honestly, or what I imagine whenever I think of God is I like to think of a guy in like his 70s that looks like a hippie, and it's just like, hey man, y'all trying to hang out today? Y'all want to go explore nature? Like, that's my God right there. Because that sounds like fun right there, right? If some hippie looked at you, man, and was like, yo, man, you trying to go for a walk through nature, man? You trying to go on a bike trail? You're going to want to go on a bike trail with that guy, right?
Yeah.
Or if some guy that looks like he's more spiritually in tune with the earth, like some Native American guy, were to walk up to you and was like, you know, beating a drum and telling me that Mother Earth is talking to me, I'm gonna hang out with that guy for the day. I'm gonna believe him. I'm like, holy shit, what the fuck is she saying to me, man? Like, I want to know what Mother Nature's saying, man. And I think that whenever you think of God in your head, it should essentially be the best version of yourself. Like, because you're not perfect, but if you were perfect, that's what God would be. God is essentially you living your perfect life. This is why I think that you should always do your best to live your perfect life. And whenever you can't do something that goes against your morals, just pray to God and give it up to him and let go of that anxiety. Just let it pass through. And this is why I say, like even my shoes. I got these from Ross, $15. Reefs. They're off-brand. What are they called?
Bucks.
I forgot what the actual brand is.
It's like Hey Dudes.
Hey Dudes, that's what it is. They're Hey Dudes. But yeah, it's like, I don't know if these shoes came from a sweatshop or not. I don't know where they came from, but I essentially paid the least amount of money I could for them. I'm always happy and comfortable when I'm wearing them, and am trying my hardest to, you know, do better in my life, because before you can change anybody else's life, you have to change your life. You have to make sure that you're that. Before you can give somebody else happiness, you have to make sure that you're the happiest person on earth. Because I like to think, or not that far, but I like to think that that if you're an unhappy person in life, that whenever you meet somebody new, you're immediately, or if you're always unhappy and look at your own insecurities, whenever you meet somebody new, you're always going to be unhappy and look for their insecurities. And what do you have to say about that?
Like, I've had examples where people like to hate on me, but it's always something they don't have. Like, I got hated on by one person for my long hair. It's not why I cut it. I just like didn't like it no more.
Because that was something that you wanted to do, right? Who cares about what they say?
But that guy had short hair. He didn't have long hair. So that's like immediately what I thought of. Like, he can't get long hair. Like that's why I started hating on it.
Yeah, essentially, it's human nature to want what you can't have. But I think the fact that God gave us the ability to think and learn shows that we can break out of human nature. If every single time I had a human nature action, or if I did something that was in my human nature, and I thought about it, and I apologized for it, and I told myself like I'm never gonna do this again. If I did that every single time, eventually I would remember to not do it. I may not be perfect, and I may just not stop doing it out of nowhere. And it's not gonna be something where like I do it one time by accident and I just stop doing it forever. No, it's gonna be something that I have to work at, and I have to be like, oh, I can't do this. Oh, I really can't do this. Oh, I really can't do this. But eventually, after 10 times of doing it, of telling myself I'm not allowed to do that over and over again, hopefully I'll remember for the next time not to do it. Or hopefully I'll stop and think before doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But I like to think that we can break free from our human nature.
Yeah, that's why like we're getting into U.S. government, and the first subject we had was like, how would life be without government? Like with no government before.
Oh, free land versus.
It was like.
Yeah, I forgot what.
Basically, like it's called anarchy, but when you think of anarchy, you think of like destruction and everything. But nature, like on its own, is violent. At the same time, it's beautiful like this, but
because it's a balance.
Mm-hmm.
And nature. This is why I like to say I like to view as nature as perfection. That. Sorry, I interrupted you, man. I'm really bad at interrupting people. You got it.
But that's like they were saying like we couldn't maintain order if we didn't have a government, because the government would give us order and would make us less violent. So that's basically what I was saying right there.
Yeah. See, I think that if humans were to, I think that that humans purely in nature, we are uncomfortable, and I think that because we are uncomfortable in pure nature, that we seek comfort and we seek destruction through discomfort. But I think that if humans are willing to balance it out with nature and society, and it's like not everybody, people need to learn that not everybody needs the nicest things. Like I am happy wearing secondhand clothes. I love going thrifting. This isn't even my shirt. This is my girlfriend's shirt. I got these pants at a thrift store for I think $5. Like I told you, I paid $15 for my shoe. I'm happy not getting the best things in this world because they're comfortable to me. And I think this is what humans need to learn. That as long as you're comfortable with something, as long as you yourself are comfortable with something, that you don't need the best thing. And I think that we're getting to a point in society where a lot of people are starting to ask questions and wake up to, the hierarchy and the fact that the U.S. government isn't necessarily for the people, and the fact that, there's a lot of just bad stuff going on. And you know what I think is making a lot of people wake up to it? The fact that we can't even trust our own food to be natural. Mm-hmm. Isn't that crazy to you, Marc?
Yeah. I put a bunch of stuff in the food.
What does that make you think? What does that make you feel?
I mean, like, makes you like think I can't trust anything.
Makes you think you can't even trust your food, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I've learned, which I recommend for anybody, because I'm not perfect. I eat junk food all the time, and I still eat bad food. But I think that you should try to balance it out with something natural and something unnatural. Like if I'm eating a Big Mac, I should eat a watermelon with it. And also, it's about not always eating that unnatural thing. And I feel like this is the thing. This is where I think your body is insane. I think that if you love something, then your body will naturally adjust to digesting that, even if it's once a month. Like let's say I love spicy food, but my body can't handle jalapenos, right? If once a week I ate a jalapeno, after a month or two, do you think that jalapeno would still be spicy to me or as spicy? No, right? Because my body... Yes, exactly. And I think our body can essentially build up a tolerance to anything if we give it time. Good example of this, the bubonic plague, right? It's a plague that, attacked Europe or terrorized Europe from the 14th century up to late 19th century, right? This plague came back and disappeared multiple times, right? Whenever they finally discovered what the plague was in the 19th century, they didn't know, they didn't realize it was the same plague because of how different it was. You know what I took out of this? As the people in Europe, they built a natural immunity to the first strand of the bubonic plague. So what did the plague bacteria do? It naturally mutated to adjust to the human's immune system to still be able to affect humans. It's the fact that nature grew with humans. That as humans began to outgrow nature, nature began to grow with humans.
I think that's what happened with COVID. Because
Speak your mind, man.
I think I never got tested for it, but during that time I got sick. And that was for like 3 weeks. And I came back and I never had COVID. I never even got sick since then. And I feel like that happens to a lot of people. I feel like a lot of people got COVID and then they just got through it. I'm not even vaccinated. I didn't get the vaccine either. So I just had like, I just didn't even, like the pain wasn't any worse. It wasn't any better for me from not vaccinated, but I didn't, I guess like I got like a natural immunity to it.
Yeah, man. And
I already got it.
And yeah, and I completely believe you because I agree with that, and I think it's true. What do you think? What is your biggest fear, Mark?
My biggest fear?
Yeah.
I like, I guess dying, but the second one would be like I really like water, but
Drowning?
I would hate to drown.
Because it sounds unpainful, right? Like really, really painful. You know, my biggest fear used to be dying, right? Honestly, that genuinely used to be my biggest fear. And honestly, I used to be scared of wanting to make a change in this world out of the fear of dying. Because if you look at anybody that's ever done anything good on this earth, like JFK, Martin Luther King, or even go back in time, like at Jesus Christ, or, you know, they were all crucified, they all died, right? And my biggest fear was dying before I could make a change, right? But I learned that I had to let go of this fear. It's what I learned. I learned that if I truly want to follow my passion of helping others, then I have to do that, and I have to not be scared of anybody trying to shut me down. And if anybody does try to shut me down, then that's just God's word. That's God telling me it wasn't my time. And this is why I believe that, you know, that as long as you truly believe that you're following God's way and you do nothing but send positivity into the universe, you're only ever going to receive positivity back. It's the law of the universe. And I think that, what do you think about that?
If you just send positive energy,
Yeah.
well, I feel like if you send negative energy, you'll get it back later. You'll get it back, even if it's like 30 years later, it'll hit you. And then, if I were to do that, and something were like bad were to happen to me, I would think about 30 years ago what I did to do that.
Because you feel like you earned it, right?
I feel like I deserved it.
And
I don't place any blame on anyone else but myself for like any negative actions I do.
And honestly, Mark, I'm gonna give you a different mindset to help you break out of the mindset if you'd like to. Because I used to do the same thing. I used to think that, you know, whatever God was sent at me, I deserved it, right? But I learned from the Stoics that they have a different ideology whenever it comes up to God. They believe that anything that God sends at you isn't because you were a bad person. It's a test from God. It's not to make you suffer. It's to make you a better person. Because what did I tell you? Through suffering, we become better people, right? And it's the fact that Mark, if I were to sit here and I would just punch the shit out of your arm, right? And give you a big bruise right there. That bruise would eventually heal, right? And do you think that arm would be a bit more adjusted to getting hit? Do you think that muscle would be a bit more resilient to my punches now?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, do you think if I hit you in that same spot, it would hurt exactly as much? Hurt a little bit less, right? And I think that this is what we should view life as anytime something out of your control happens, don't get mad about it because it's out of your control. Give it up to God and just be like, thank you, God. Thank you. It's a real present. Like, for me, look at me. I fell off my bike, last Tuesday, right? See how bad my arm is? I felt like I dislocated my knee a little bit because it was hurting a little bit, but it's better now. I also have this one right here. Little, fucking, covered up my that right there. It's already healed. But instead of getting mad, I never got. I'm gonna be honest. Whenever I got in the bike accident, I didn't get mad and I never got stressed. At first, I was a bit scared and anxious because I was like, what the flip happened, man? I fell off my bike. But whenever I fell off my bike, you want to know what my like, this is, I'm gonna say what my God honest first initial thought was. Oh my goodness, I saved that. That's what was really my thought. Yeah. Like, oh my goodness, like, because let me put it for perspective. I was riding my electric bike. It goes 20 miles an hour, right? There was about a curve this big, which doesn't seem big enough to break your bike tire, but apparently it was. And whenever I hit it, the front tire of my bike popped off, and I kind of did a front flip off my bike, right? Yeah, it sounds crazy, right?
It sounds like you would die.
It sounds like I'm going head first into the ground, into the pavement, right? And that's what it felt like. It felt like I went head first. But I guess instinctively, I knew not to hit my head, and I put my arm up like this, covered my, because I like to do MMA, so I went into a body position to protect myself like this, and I landed on the ground and slid on the ground, right? And whenever I got up, instead of being pissed about the fact that I just got hurt, I was like, holy shit, I saved it. I didn't hit my head. Yeah, that's literally what I thought. Instead of hitting my head, I hit my arm, and I was grateful for that. And instead of, getting pissed off about the fact that my bike was broken and that I had no way to get to work because I was down to work for my job, I sat there and I thought about what the best action I could do. I was like, okay, I can't get to work now. My manager is probably, because I was already running a bit late. I was running like 5 minutes late, so I was like, my manager's probably a bit upset. I'm gonna go ahead and call him and let him know that I'm running late and I probably won't be there for a bit. And I'm gonna go ahead and call my mom, tell her to come pick me up, and go ahead and just walk the bike back to my house or get as close as I could, right? And that's exactly what I did. I called my manager, started taking my bike back to my house, and take it home. And I mean, look at me, man. Am I dead because I got hurt?
No, you're all good.
I'm all good. Like I said, my knee was hurt because I can post a photo. I'll post a photo. I have an Instagram for this, by the way. We'll take a photo afterwards and I'll post that photo on there. But I'll post a photo of my messed up knee on there too. But I can essentially if my knee was bad, this happened last Thursday, right? And you can see the marking on it too, so you know I'm not lying. My knee was a little beat up, right? If my knee was bad, could I really do this right here? Yeah. Right? Like, my knee was really bad. Could I really go one-legged squat like that? It's the fact that, I'm fine and I can do these things. And it's, and that's what I've learned, man. Like, whenever God beats you up, instead of getting mad at God, you're like, thank you, God. You're making me a better person. Or, thank you, God. And even then, like, whenever something good happens in your life, be thankful too, because you have to realize that good thing didn't have to happen either. That is also a blessing from God. Like, I'll give you a small example of this today. I didn't have a pencil all day at school today. Yeah. I forgot one at home, and I asked for a guy in first period for one. I don't think I used a colored pencil in second period. And you know what I did in third? On my way to class, I was running late, and I look on the ground, and there's just a pencil in front of the class, like literally sitting there on the ground, and I'm like, because I didn't have a pencil, I didn't have a bag, anything. I guess we were taking notes in that class, and it would have been really hard to take them on a colored pencil. So I look at it and I pick it up. And I'm like, thank you, God. This is literally what I needed. And I go in there and I did my work in class and I took care of my business. But yeah, man, I think everything, because they say everything has a reason, everything has a plan. It's like if I were to go over there and hug that tree right now, I'm sending positivity into that tree, so I can hope, one day I can get that positivity back. But I think it's also important that we should learn to never be entitled to positivity. Never be entitled to anything. I should never have the same standard that I have for you that I have for me. I should never expect you to do everything that I would do, because, I'm not a perfect creature and I know you're not a perfect creature, so why would I hold you up to my standards of expectation? That's the way I look at the world, man. How do you look at the world?
I look at the world like, I don't know, like a little selfishly, honestly.
Go ahead and say it, man. There ain't no judgment here.
Like, I focus on myself most of the time. I guess that really stemmed from how much it paid off. like on the way to junior year, like the summer before junior year, all I did was focus on myself. I had like insane motivation. I just like gained a bunch of discipline, just going to the gym all the time. And then the payoff from that was probably like the greatest thing that ever happened to me. So from that, I just kind of like focus on myself a lot more, and probably don't put other people first as much as I put myself first.
That's important, man.
But like, no matter what, unless it's like family or something, or like really, really close friends, I'll put my feelings before someone else. I'll put how I feel and like my morals before anything else.
And that's very important, man. You know, I agree with you. You know why I agree with you? Because I think before you can love anybody else, you have to learn how to love yourself. And I think you have learned how to love yourself, Mark. So I think you can start learning how to love other people, man.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, like, just stay happy and be happy with the person you are, and you'll find that people are attracted to happiness. That's really all it is. Is if you're a happy, energetic, vibrant person, that people are going to be drawn to you. And that whenever they're drawn to you, it's just important for you to maintain that happiness with them. But yeah, man, I agree. You know, honestly, that goes to show that, like, the greatest thing you got out of it was the fact that you worked out, man. It's a really nice day, man.
Yeah. Like before I started working out, you saw how I was, right? Like you saw how I was. I didn't look like I took care of myself. I didn't look.
To be fair, it's because you were always a quiet and timid kid.
Like that's the thing, I had to learn it. No one told me, literally no one's ever told me I should go work out. I should go hit the gym.
I told you that, man.
Except like 1 or 2 people.
I was about to say, man, don't you lie on my name, man.
Honestly, I don't remember.
It was...
I'll be honest. Probably like one person in 8th grade told me.
I told you one time. I didn't tell you to work out. I remember whenever we were going to Friendsgiving, and I told you to do push-ups.
Oh. Yeah, we were doing push-ups.
Yeah.
I remember that.
You want to work out right now? I have boxing stuff in the car if you want to do a bit of MMA. Not like on each other, but I have. You want to come over to my house, man? Like work out for a bit?
We can. Yeah.
If you want to. Yeah, we can go ahead and wrap this up, guys. We've been going on for like about an hour 30 minutes. It was a really good talk. I'm happy to have my guest here, Mark. I need to learn how to talk less so my guests can talk more. I need to stop having shy people on here.
It's because I just naturally don't talk.
Yes, I know, Mark. And it pisses me off.
That's just what I'm becoming, though. Like, didn't I literally say I got called mysterious?
Yeah.
Like, that's literally like how. That's how I'm forming. I'm not.
Hey, I mess with it, Mark.
I'm not becoming someone that talks a lot. I prefer to listen.
I rock with that, man. I prefer to talk, but I try my hardest to listen.
I like to listen, but sometimes I'm really bad at it. Like in school,
you know what
I literally zone out.
Yeah, you know what I've realized? It's because whenever you can't do something, it's because you're seeking comfort in doing something else. You know what I the way I've learned to be best at school is to be excited about whatever I'm learning, and B, if I'm ever not listening to my teacher, I kind of I put one headphone in and then listen with the other one, and I turn the volume down to where I can barely hear the music, because for some reason I do this with classical music. For some reason, classical music in the background will make me focus. Yeah. And then if I turn it up really loud, I get really into the music. Like, I'll be in class just fucking jamming, man. But,
I might have kind of felt that when I took music class online, because I failed it the previous year. Like, I was like peak online school. It was freshman year. So I took it again during the summer and sophomore year, and what's it called? We had to write like little essays on orchestras and stuff. So I'd like pull up a video of the orchestra and I have to listen to it. And I was like,
it goes kind of crazy, right?
Uh-huh.
Bro, no. We'll play it right now. Afterwards, listening to classical music in nature is literally the greatest thing ever.
Like, it was like I was actually focused on doing my work, because I had to listen to the classical music and then I had to describe it.
You actually enjoyed your work.
Like, it was actually good.
You are a music person, Mark.
A little bit.
Yeah. No, not a little bit, man. You are a music person. You're gonna do great things, man. All right, I'm going to go ahead and sign off of here. 102 minutes. Peace out. Signing off, Mark. You want to give your producer tag, man?
My producer tag? I ain't giving my producer tag. I don't got one.
You don't got a producer tag yet?
I don't got a producer.
We're gonna make Mark a producer tag right now. Well, trust me, we'll get Mark on the spotlight. If y'all need any producing, any music help, hit up my boy Mark. He's got it. All right, peace.